So, welcome to the Karma Perspective. My name is Marques McCammon. I'm the President and Chief Executive here at Karma Automotive, and I'm joined here with my partner in crime, Nicholas David, our Global Head of Design. Today, I want to talk about kind of where design is going in the auto industry. I mean, there's a lot of new and innovative products coming, right? Lots of new vehicles from old brands and new brands. But I think there's kind of a particular, maybe even peculiar design aesthetic that's coming out. I think some people are saying, well, it's avant-garde. We're going kind of more into the future, edgy. But honestly, some of it I just find distasteful, right? And like we've lost the romance. And I guess I'd like to get your perspective on it.
Yeah, and I think for this chat, I think we both have pretty strong opinions on what's happening as well. So I'm trying to keep it PG
exactly
for this. I think it's been happening over the last maybe say 3 or 4 years. I mean, we first saw the Tesla Cybertruck coming out, and I think it did two things. I mean, it really pushed the boundary what I think customers are open to.
Yeah.
I think that had a lot to do with the owner of that company. Mm-hmm. I think if it was another different brand, I think it might not have got to production.
Yes.
And then we see it with some other British brands now. They're quite polarizing. And
yes.
I think it's quite interesting because, some of the brands that we've seen recently, and, maybe a very strong Italian brand, is they have amazing heritage. And especially with the British brand Jaguar, who we were talking about, I think they stepped away from such a strong heritage. And a brand like ours, we would love to have that heritage.
That's right.
I think so. I feel there's definitely a shift in the design community. It feels like people are a little bit lost about where to go.
I have that same feeling. So I had a couple of mentors, right? So Bob Lutz from GM, famous product guy. Trevor Creed was considered one of the top designers at Chrysler. Tom Gale, they used to always say to me, like, good design has a sense of polarization, right? Because the customer doesn't know what they want until they see it, so you have to reach. But on the other side of it, I think we get to a place where, when you get to a place where you have an auto company that has $1 trillion market cap, there's a sense of following that I think happens, right? So if they do something that's really edgy and out on a cliff, and they have a success in their cap table and in their market share, that others feel like they have to follow, right? But I think the thing that really made auto special globally was the humanism and the romance. And it's like right now I don't know if I'm seeing that.
Yeah, I know, because you wonder whether some vehicles almost feel, for want of a better way of saying it, almost like, are they designed for clicks?
Yes.
Are they designed for social media?
Yes.
Is it designed to make a huge impact? But are they lasting? I think that the romance comes from maybe proportion of a vehicle, and I think we're very lucky here, right, to have a very dramatic, classical proportion if you want.
That's
but I
right.
don't think we ever look at classical as in a negative thing or not designed forward thinking. It's like, I think we have a proportion, and that romance does, is that it lasts.
Yes.
It stands the test of time. And it doesn't have to be, I think, retro or anything, right? It's not nostalgia looking back.
That's right.
It's kind of like looking at heritage and modernizing our heritage. So, I think I wonder whether just the design is almost like polarizing for the sake of being polarizing sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. I look at great design, right? So you and I are both historians, right? And we're fans of automotive over generations. And I look at a lot of what's happening, and I feel like it's a moment whereas the great designs, the things that you fall in love with, they last across generations, right? Like you'll see the car from 50 years ago. I like Auburn, right?
Yeah.
And the beautiful form of Auburn. The cars, to me, they have no moment in time. Like, I think when Bentley introduced the Continental GT, it had that type of feeling to me, right? It was, you could just see the silhouette of the car and you fell in love with it. What I see now, it's like, I hate to say it, sometimes I want to throw up in my mouth, or everything looks exactly the same, right? And I think the passion point, the place where the vehicle goes beyond just being transport or just beyond a means of point A to point B, to something that is a reflection of who you are as a person, I don't think you can do that without that humanistic element.
Yeah, I know. It's we talked about this a lot. And I think I think you can go quite polarizing depending on which sector of the automotive market you're in. If you're kind of down in a small SUV or a small little sedan and it's playful and it's like entry level for a brand, I think it's almost like fast fashion. It comes and it goes, comes and it goes. It's okay.
That's okay.
But I think when you get to far more ultra luxury space, especially where we're trying to move forward with the brand, it's you're playing to a clientele which is not trend based.
That's right.
It's a bit more like sophisticated.
That's right.
And it has a certain the look that they're looking for. So I think that's what we're seeing. I think for me is interesting is that we're seeing the higher end brands be almost polarizing.
Yes.
And I've been thinking about it a lot lately because that's quite unique. And I think that's come off maybe the trend of like, look at Louis Vuitton. It was always so classical, and then, Virgil Abloh, I mean, absolutely, amazing designer.
Yeah.
Nothing bad to say about him at all. But he brought almost like a playful quirkiness and messed with the brand a little bit in an amazing way. And other brands are doing it. And I think maybe that's influenced maybe some more higher end lifestyle automotive brands.
Yeah, I think you're right. So we're in this space where we're moving into an era where innovation and technology are synonymous with life, right? So, we would watch science fiction movies when we were kids about the things that are happening on the roads today, right? The fact that I have a watch that I can talk to and it can give me my biometrics and my GPS, like that was Star Trek, that was Star Wars, right? And but you and I both have an appreciation for craftsmanship. So right now I'm wearing an Apple Watch, you're wearing a Breitling, right? There's a place for both of those. I think there's a place where innovation can live in a world where artisan craftsmanship is not lost. And I think, when I look at what the auto industry has done for the past 10 or 15 years, I think we're struggling with that. So we go to this path and we say, okay, we'll just throw a big screen and put more buttons because, we're in a digital age and everyone's accustomed to digital things. But then when you do that, where's the interface? Where's the tactile touch? Where's the feeling of craftsmanship? The fact that there was another hand that touched that. I think that's still important, especially when, like you said, when we talk about an ultra luxury customer and a segment at the upper end of the marketplace. I still personally want to see a piston.
Yeah.
But I have an absolute fascination with artificial intelligence. I think it's possible to do both.
Yeah.
And to me, I think that's the challenge that we live in.
I know, it's a bit of an open space, right? It seems to be either tech-based or full analog.
Yes.
Like, where's the nice balance between that? And like, I think you and I have talked, and I think looking back, years ago, 20, 30 years ago, having a screen in the car would be obviously like, wow, super high end.
Right.
Leather is like, wow. The things that were luxury before, it's become almost like those features have become quite democratic, right? Pretty much every brand has massive screens.
Exactly.
They go 0 to 60 in under 4 seconds because they're electric, and then you have leather and everything. It's like, I wonder I think that's something that we were challenging, right? We're trying to work out what is the new luxury or ultra luxury for us. It can't just be 0 to 60 anymore, right?
Exactly.
It's not the materials anymore. It's something more.
That's right.
And I think, going back to what you were saying about where's the balance, but something more on top of it.
Yeah, I mean, because if you think about it, in an era of electric drivetrains and modern technologies, to say that you have a vehicle that goes from 0 to 60 in 4 seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds, and even some are talking about 1, it's really, it's almost academic now, right? But that alone doesn't constitute driving, right? So like, how many people can handle a car in its peak acceleration? How many people could handle a car at a 4-second acceleration and then be able to brake from that into a hard corner and then come out of that into a chicane and then go back into a straight and actually have a sense of what to do? Like, to me, that is what driving is. It's not just a stoplight to stoplight thing.
Yeah.
And I think the sophistication in looking at the vehicle more holistically, and again, I think some of it's gotten lost. I look at the American auto companies, as like that's where I cut my teeth.
Yeah.
And we've regained the muscle car era, which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. But one of the weaknesses of the muscle car era versus some of the Europeans was we had great brute force straight line performance, but we didn't have the refinement of longevity, right?
Yeah.
The endurance racing, the carving, the canyon carving, as we say at Karma. I like this. I like the fact that the Americans are getting more into Indy and into F1, and we're looking into like pinnacle racing. But how do we get that same feeling and just democratize it? Let's go back to where people just loved cars.
I know, right? And that's something that we've talked about with, the premise of Karma, right? Generally,
Yes.
not even as a separate product. It's about, I think, the positioning of finding that white space for us as being unique, right? Moving from luxury to ultra luxury, and seeing that we're just trying to bring something back.
Yes.
That America owned.
That's right.
Right, almost like that we talk about internally, right? Like the return of ultra luxury and what that means. It's like it's something that we had before.
Yes.
In the 1920s, 30s, the Duesenbergs and
That's
the
right.
Accords that we were talking about, and several things happened in the world at that time, which kind of took focus away from that, and manufacturing went to support different unfortunate situations that happened in the world and everything, and then we forgot to kind of go back. To that, and I think there was, things like the Great Depressions took a focus away, and then ultra luxury was almost looked down upon as if like you were scared to flaunt it.
Exactly.
And I think it's just been a slow burn, really.
Yes.
So, but I think now the idea of bringing a pure ultra luxury product and brand back, as it's not just a one product within the portfolio, as some brands seem to be trying to do. It's the whole company trying to be.
That's right.
So I think that gives us a very unique place, right?
I agree. So look, we're getting ready to launch the first new car Karma's done in 7 years, right? The Giacera. And so we've done some things, right? We've gone through the car, through our platform, and we have a new, more powerful power plant, right? We have a quicker acceleration. We have more options in suspension, whether you want to drive it for hardcore performance with coilovers, you want a daily driver with our normal strut and spring configuration, or whether you want something that has a blend of both with semi-active. We've gone with carbon body, right, across the board. So, there's not many manufacturers where they say from a vehicle line standpoint, I'm going to do carbon fiber body across the board. What do you think, as we lean into Giacera, what should the world think about when they see Karma, they see the Giacera, and the journey that design is going to take following that product?
Yeah, I think it's such an important product for Karma, right? It's the best performance and specs of any vehicle that Karma's produced at this point. I think, we're really excited for it to come out towards the end of the year. I think, over the last few years, we've shown some amazing design direction on some of the products, and I think this vehicle is definitely showing the first expression of that design language going forward. And I hope that we manage to take everybody along for the ride on that, and they can see what we're coming out with next. I think what's actually played in their hands really well is that, we know internally that we were wondering, do we go full EV on some products? Do we go, even considering at one point, do we go full ICE?
That's
right?
exactly
we've had many debates about that.
That's
and I think, especially what's happened actually in some of the macro environments right now, the technology that we've been developing over the last 10 years has actually landed us in such a sweet spot.
That's right.
And I think that drivetrain for us as well is, we're unique in that we're one of the only luxury, ultra luxury brands who are using that technology. Right? It's not like you got some other brands coming out who are focusing it more on utilitarian.
Yes.
I think it's actually been really fun that we're using that, and how it offers that ultra luxury feeling of freedom and uninterruption and not having to worry and having more time on your hands. So I think I think the product is landing at a really sweet time.
Yeah.
For that.
It's funny because, there's more conversations happening about EREV, right? Extended range electric vehicles now. And as a version of hybrid drivetrains. Hybrid is what's winning, without question, and across all segments. And I think people forget the fact that we were one of the very first to have an EREV powertrain in the marketplace, and we're the only one that have been consistently in that space for 10 years. Like most people miss that. And then now, with us really spending time thinking about how do you extend that experience to make it performance oriented, make it luxury oriented, connect the benefits of electric drive with the visceral elements of ICE and the freedom of ICE with the quietness and efficiency of electric drive. I mean, I think that I'm biased, clearly, but I think that we're on to something special because, I tell people all the time, you and I are both mechanical engineers.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if you're performance-minded, the job of an engineer is to make the vehicle more efficient.
Yeah.
So if its job is to haul stuff, you want to do it more efficiently. If its job to be fast, you want it to be more efficient. If its job is to carry people, you want to do so more efficient. Like that is a fundamental premise of engineering.
Yeah.
And I think what we're doing with our EREV is we're giving freedom, performance, refinement, luxury, and emotion, and we're doing it in a very efficient fashion.
Again, I think what's interesting, I mean, is that we can do better at what I'm about to say as well. I think is in terms of educating people about what the EREV or EREV as we call it, how cool it is.
Yes.
I think we need to be almost like that. The main knowledge base of how that is, because people say like, what's the difference between EREV and hybrid, right?
That's right.
I didn't know that exists. I don't know what's the benefit of it. I think that's part of our job, right? Is to educate people on what the benefit that is, because you get people in the car and they're like, I can choose.
Yes.
I can choose to leave my house quietly.
Yes.
And have the power when I want it. I think that's something that we're learning that is so normal to us every day.
Right.
And we forget to actually tell everybody else the benefit of it. And I think that's why EREVs work well for us.
We're so close to it, right? That sometimes we forget that everyone doesn't have the same understanding that we do. I was at the SEMA show, and I'm on this panel, and there's a bunch of hot rodders in the audience. And the moment that they said that, well, they introduced me as a guy from an EV company, which I always take offense to, and the group was boo.
Yeah.
And I said, hold on, time out. And I said, now whether you're a mechanic, a degreed engineer, a race tech, whatever, your job is to make performance more efficiently, and they all agreed, right?
Yeah.
And I said, so if I tell you that an electric drive is 90% efficient, and I can have torque instantly if I want it, why is that a bad thing? And everyone was like, okay. And then I said, now an ICE engine is about 30 to 33% efficient on average, but the infrastructure to support ICE is everywhere.
Yeah.
There's a connection that we as humans have with ICE. And if I combine the two things, then I have the ability to go wherever I want, whenever I want. And if I let you choose between the two, then the control is with you. And then all of a sudden I got smiles. The same group that was booing, all of a sudden got smiles. And then I got a whole bunch of questions after, because they were asking, how do you do it? What is it? We call it a series hybrid. But the idea of having the engine's purpose to keep the e-drive moving as efficiently and aggressively as possible, that means I do get emotion, but I also get efficiency. I do get speed, but I also get range. And I think that combination, we have to do a better job of explaining to people.
I know, and it's something that you've definitely said a few times in different meetings and events about we have a lot of Ferrari buyers who put deposits down on our cars because maybe they're not a fan of some of the EV parts of things, but they love the beauty of it. But also, recently, 5-6 years ago, Ferrari was 30% of their products were hybrids.
That's right.
Right? And now we're leading up to almost over 50% of their products are hybrids.
That's
I
right.
might have that figure a little bit wrong, but when you explain that to people, they're like, they're almost flabbergasted, right? Because they don't know. And I think, so they've come from this direction and we're coming from that direction. Well, we're kind of,
We're going to land in the same spot. And since you brought them up, so we just saw the Luce. I have to do it.
I have to leave, sorry.
Look, there has not been a more polarizing vehicle introduction, even more so than the Cybertruck, I think. From the moment that Luce was introduced, the internet was on fire. And I look at it and I say, one, the Ferrari team are not dumb, right? No. There's something in the strategy of what they're doing. But I guess I'm going to say I feel kind of confident about our future, because when I look at the Luce versus Giacera, when I look at the Luce versus Cavea, I'm going to put my bets on karma.
It's we've talked about this a lot. It's having, being British, seeing what, Jaguar did and everything, and having worked for Jaguar before, I mean, it's something that's hard to see a brand that's part of your nation doing
Yes.
something that you feel almost like a little bit, you have a bit more of a reaction to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you. There's no way you could ever go against Ferrari and think they didn't think about it.
That's right.
I think all I try to do is look at maybe the ingredients I have currently to make a comment on it. I think we know the Ferrari design team obviously is super talented.
Without question.
And then those two gentlemen that had a lot to do with the Luce exterior and interior, in their design discipline, they are
Legendary.
rock stars.
Legendary.
There's certainly a thing about that, but there is within the design industry, that idea of taking a product designer and apply them to a dynamic object, as opposed to taking a car designer and applying it to a static object.
Yes.
I think there is a lot, as I said, this is my observation. I don't think some other people which are non-car designers understand the nuance that goes into a dynamic line, a proportion, a volume, a silhouette, a cross-car look,
That's
not
right.
just what's right out front of you. And I think that sometimes, as I said, I don't want to predict something because I don't think it's fair because I don't know if I have all the ingredients, but I think that vehicle, currently what I know of, showed that difference between the disciplines.
I agree.
And now I don't know if Ferrari had a lot to do with that, their internal design team. So it is a hard vehicle design to swallow. I think the one thing that Ferrari always has going for it, as well as, we're fortunate if our brand does, is proportion.
Yes.
We always say proportion.
Yeah.
And I think when you remove that from that brand, it does become quite generic. It feels like some other products around. I think that's something that you can never do. You can never copy Ferrari in many ways.
No, absolutely not.
To the color, to the stance, to
That's
everything,
right.
to the engine. So I think it is currently it's a real. I wanted to be excited about it.
Yeah.
There's some beautiful details in the interior, some of the mechanicals and
Yeah.
some of the digital to analog transitions are really beautiful. But I think for me, the proportion
Yeah.
and therefore the cross-car section,
Mm-hmm.
I think it just leaves me cold. When I look at those cars, I always want to buy them,
Yes.
right? We want to
yes.
have them.
You want it.
And I look at that and I'm like,
No, I'm good.
I'm good. I'll stick with
Well,
it.
to be honest with
Yeah.
you, it's the first time I can ever say that I saw a prancing horse on the front of a vehicle that could fall into the background, right? Like there's never been a time where I would have imagined a Ferrari that would sit in a field of other vehicles and just feel same, right? And
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I enjoy when you and I have our debates and our battles about architecture and layout and proportion and
And they go really well sometimes.
yeah,
don't
they do. Yeah, well, because we kind of see the
Yeah,
world through similar lenses.
Yeah.
But fighting to make sure that we protect what is fundamental to beauty in a moving product. I think that is going to be one of the things that people remember us for.
Yeah.
A lot of times when I'm driving, people say, "Well, what's that?" Or say, "Well," or I've always gotten the, why do you have such a long dash? And I said, but let me ask you a question. When you see that, is it offensive to you or do you find it attractive? No, I like it, but I'm just trying to understand why. Well, but that's because it's art in motion. It's art in machinery. It's art in function, right? I think keeping that, I think, is one of the things that we have to do even as we innovate.
Yeah, I mean, we know internally for the last couple of years we've had a big debates, right, about what we do with our battery packs.
Yes.
Right. Do we
Don't
keep
tell a
it-
secret.
Do we do go floor based with
Copy everybody else.
Yeah, or do we keep it down the tunnel for us? And I think it's interesting because as we were going through 5-10 years ago, different brands I worked at, there was always this debate, oh my God, can't wait till EV because it'll just open up the architecture.
Yes.
Right? It'll open up this, we can start pushing people different places, doing this. But the regulations don't allow actually that much change
That's right.
in some way. But
That's right.
also I think, looking at, once again, just observing some brands, like some German brands, the cars look like they're on stilts now.
Yes, they do.
Because the packs are underneath. And they're doing some very clever design techniques.
With the rocker panel
Yeah,
to
the
try
black
and make it look
panels.
smaller. Yeah.
And I think we're, you know how much I've fought for trying to keep the batteries away from the floor in some products, because it does allow us to have that USP of our hit points are so low down.
That's right.
And for us, American-based company, and most of our, sales are in America, that wide tunnel, where it's kind of been, sometimes we've had some comments that, okay, it feels a little bit obtrusive, it's actually worked out really well.
Yes.
Right? There's some of the, Lamborghini with the Aventador,
That's
the Revuelto. Right. You feel a lot more space between you.
That's right.
And that's quite a nice American approach.
It's a nice feeling. I mean, if you get into a G4 or a G5, you get that feeling of, this is my space.
Yeah.
And that complements the sense of luxury. And I think that we've maintained that, and I think evolved it quite well. The other thing, so it's funny you mentioned the skateboard concept. I remember when GM, Ed Welburn and Bob Lutz showed that in Detroit. It had to be 98 or 99 in the Detroit Auto Show, and it was like this big, concept car, like this big reveal, lights and cameras, like back when the Detroit Auto Show was like the huge thing. And like you said, everyone said that was going to change the whole universe. It's normalized a lot of things, but the normalization, I don't think is, I'll just say it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. I am not one who wants to buy my car and pull into a parking lot and see everyone else looks just like me, whether I'm talking about a standard market car or something that's in the premium space. I want to be the one, when I go to the car show, I want to be the one guy who has the one car that nobody else has.
Yeah. Well, currently, if you go to Whole Foods, you park a Rivero with so many other brands and Teslas around, you can't even see it because it's so below everybody. I mean, exactly. It's also a great, Exactly. You and I have debated a lot about, especially with Cavea, right? Our kind of North Star product. And, we had lots of debates inside about the battery pack, right?
That's right. I think.
But when we're talking about ultra luxury, I think a lot of the car that we pushed for that is simplicity.
Yes.
And the proportion and volume, right? Because we have a concern now, if we put up the batteries in the floor on that one, you start getting to almost like a Jaguar F-Type. Mm-hmm. And the proportion and size, it visually tells you the price point.
That's right.
Right. So I know we obviously did a super deep dive in the battery pack, changing on that and seeing what it would do, the proportion and everything. So I think that's, just going back to what we were saying about the batteries. I mean, it has a lot to do with what it says about the price point and positioning of that vehicle. And I think we're lucky with our current battery pack. We're able to almost dictate that.
Yes.
As opposed to dictating for us.
Yes.
And I think that's been really, as a design team, I mean, it's been amazing, right? Because we get to design these beautiful proportions.
Yes.
We're not doing a hatchback.
Well, I think, like you said, I think the proportion of a vehicle tells you the class of the vehicle. What it alludes to what you should expect from it.
Yeah.
Right. So when you see a car that's got a low slung proportion, it's got a nice fluid form, it's taut. It speaks performance. It speaks speed. It speaks exclusivity. And then if we build the business to match that language, right, then the conversation is coherent, is holistic.
Yeah.
I think so in that regard, and I think you said this, Cavea is our North Star. So if we think about Giacera now, right, as we go to introduce that vehicle, when people look at the design language of that, what exactly do you want them to see?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think one of the things about that platform that we're working with is just how dramatic it is. Mm-hmm. Right? You got low slung proportions. It's a very large dash to axle. You got large dominant wheels. I think it's a really great expression of almost the grand coupe or grand tour, we call it, almost like bringing that back. And I don't think there's another product that we try to do comps on the vehicle, and I think it's hard to find a comp with it. One thing that we've definitely tried to do with that vehicle is try to sort of start getting the form language and some of the design features that are strong in Cavea and Amaris into that vehicle.
Yes.
So it's the first expression of it, and I think it's very striking on the road. You've got that very dynamic kind of kick-up feature on the side of the car. So when you see it driving around, it's going to be iconic.
Yes.
It's got a new lower front fascia and hood to give it a far more exotic feel to it.
Yes.
a far cleaner rear, and everything has been designed to really stretch the width of the car out. I think some of our previous products at Karma have been almost like look a little bit narrow.
Narrow, yeah.
So we really try to push the fenders and push the back of the car out to give it a far more performance look. I think something that I know we've been excited about, and I know you pushed a lot on, is you can spec the car in such a way that it kind of looks like understated sophistication. Right, we've designed it in such a way that it has a lot of movement, and also then you have the exposed carbon fiber package, not
That's
just
right.
the exposed panels, but with the new livery pack. So the car can really have different expressions. You can kind of go from this understated to more performance looking.
That's right.
And I really like that because we have the cars running around here and they definitely have different characters.
Yes, yeah. It's like putting on a new suit every day, right? It's the same, like your frame and your structure is the same, but depending on what outfit you put on, you got a whole different character when you step out into the street.
Yeah.
And I think that people are going to be delighted when they realize that any level of GS-Aero they buy, the hood is carbon. It's 2x2 twill. It's real. We're not just saying that. The front fenders, the rear deck lid. I mean, they'll be able to see that, and whether they choose to have it painted or they choose to have it cleared. But at that price, we will come into the ultra luxury segment. You won't be able to have a car that's that well dressed with an aluminum space frame and a carbon fiber body at that price point. So I think that's one thing I'm really excited about. Down the rockers, I mean, throughout the car. I think the fact that we're so particular about our interior, and we only go to Bridge of Wear in Scotland to get our leather, right? And then we have these various hand stitch configurations. I think those things are exciting. And then seeing how our target lighting concept starts on the exterior of the car and chases all the way through the UI. And we've got a whole new compute framework and a whole new compute platform, whole new UI experience, from the app to the car to what we do with concierge services. How holistic it's become. I think it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, and I think the entire company's done a great job. It's not just sporadic ideas.
Yes,
there's been really strong strategy behind it, right? With the removal of grills on cars and the removal of some of the grills that we've had on Karma before. Like, what is the unique down the road graphics? As you talked about the target lighting, which has been a challenge.
Yes.
And don't get me wrong, we did it a long time ago, and it looks like a lot of other people picked up on that flavor.
Yeah, like they're sitting in the copying.
Yeah, and so I think I'm really proud that we managed to get that in production, the next few months, so we can kind of almost not say claim it, but to
stake in the ground. Don't touch my stuff.
But it's not just it's that saying it, but it's the unique thing. You see it down the road. Those little kind of like Easter eggs, right?
That's
it
right.
looks almost like a
That's right.
Star Wars coming down the road, and then other features on the wheels we've got, which kind of look like warp holes and everything.
That's
it's
right.
just there's lots of Easter eggs around the car, and I think that's a really nice additional storytelling for people to have the car. It's not just, oh, I've got a car. It's like, let me show you these beautiful details.
That's right.
That have been thought out around the car. But one last thing that you brought up on something was, it's almost like the car is underestimated, right? Because it offers so much for the price point and the sector where we are. And I think that's dwindled down, right, from things like Cavea, where you look at it and you think it's a hypercar. We had people saying, how much is the down payment? Is it 200,000, 100,000? And no, the price of it is 400,000.
That's right.
The down payment's 10,000 something. So I think that idea that it always visually offers a lot more.
Yes.
Than you think you're getting. So
I think that's part of what, when we talk about American ultra luxury, and we talk about defining what ultra luxury is, not from the past but for the future.
Yeah.
I think that's part of it, right? So I think we're in an era where, again, humanistic artisan craftsmanship connects with innovation, technology, and AI, and I think the result is value. Right? Not value in the monetary sense, but value in terms of what it can bring to your life.
Yeah.
And I think when people come to Karma and they get a vehicle, you're going to have something that's scarce and largely a one of one.
Yeah.
You're going to have a vehicle that every corner of the car was thought to be tied to every other corner of the car.
Yeah.
Right? So when we decide lightweighting, we decide lightweighting architecturally, and then we take it through the entire vehicle.
Yeah.
When we think about performance, it's not just what is my 0 to 60 time, but it's I want crisp acceleration, I want hard cornering capability, I want great braking, I want to take the benefit of regen and put it into performance like you would an F1 car.
Yeah.
It's holistic, right? And then when we start thinking about the touch points, metal should feel like metal. It should be cold to the touch. Leather should be warm. And the scent should live in the car 3, 4, 5 years after you bought it, not just 2 days, right? Like the fact that we're so deliberate, and your team and how they're linked with engineering and how that's linked with manufacturing, that we're being very deliberate about everything that we're doing, like that's what gets me excited. I want people to see where Karma is and where Karma's going. Because I think like instant legacy, right? That's what I imagine in my mind.
Yeah, and I think to add to that, I think the idea we're introducing the new studio program.
Yes.
Like with that vehicle as well, about the customization. I mean, that's a huge push for us.
Yes.
We've got the brand new configurator coming. I think it's already been pushed out of the dealerships and it's going to come out to the public soon, probably closer to Pebble Beach, which we will be at.
Yes.
And we've got something very special there as well. So I think, the customization is a big deal because, I think it's a differentiator. Mm-hmm. You see a lot of European high-end brands offering their kind of pathways to that. And I think we're taking it to another level where, you can certainly come into the studio, work with the design team. And so everything can be, as you said, we were a big push on the one-of-one.
That's right.
I think, and that's great. It's obviously it's a challenge, and it's an awful lot of work, as we say.
Yes,
I mean it is, but we've already rolled that out a few times to some very high net worth clients, and so that's working out really well.
Yeah.
I think we're kind of tuning that process really nicely, and then. We've got a couple of other extreme expressions of that coming out soon as well.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Well, we won't say much about it today, but I'm waiting for people to understand what eximius means.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Right? We'll dangle that carrot so people can go digging and try to find out what we're talking about. But I'm really excited about where we're going, right?
Yeah.
And I'm excited for us to keep having these conversations and share with the market and our fans, those who might be interested, or even our haters, right? Like what Karma is and is going to be, because I think that the future for us is exciting. Ultra luxury has had a path throughout the legacy of the automotive industry. I think we're bringing it back to the United States after a very long hiatus, right? 1950s, I would argue. But more importantly, I think we're defining what it can and should be for the future. And I think that's the big difference.
Yeah, it's a very exciting time for us.
Yep.
I think we've got such a strong pathway and a strong lineup of vehicles. Onward and upward.
Let's go.